Eh? Gotta love that, should I say, or should I go by The Clash? It is... Well, you want to say?
Yeah.
All right, done. It's Sunday the 3rd of July. You're listening to BBC Radio London with me, Tim Arthur, and I'm joined for the newspaper review, as always, one of my favourite newspaper reviews, Jamie Kelsey-Fry, contributing editor of the New Internationalist. I nearly managed to say that.
Well done, yeah, nearly.
Nearly.
Each time you get a little bit closer, Tim.
Closer every time. That's what I like. What a week. What a week.
Yeah.
We were tweeting earlier in the week just saying, oh, will there be anything to talk about?
No, it's just tumbleweeds this week, really. Just have to chat about nothing, you know.
Where would we start? Well, we'll start with just the front pages, first of all. What's on the front pages?
So, good morning, London. Here we go. Under starters orders, and it's the Sunday Express coming in first with a headline of Queen in plea for calm. Someone's got to call for calm, that's for sure. So, extraordinary royal intervention amid political turmoil after Brexit. Turmoil's a pretty apt word. So, the front page of the Sunday Express is the Queen asking for calm.
I know that was at the opening of the Scottish Parliament, wasn't it? That's where she gave that speech.
Yes.
Specifically, and then said we should look optimistically towards this time with hope, didn't she?
Well, yes.
Which is well, actually, to be honest, I think it's one of the things we have to do. I think we do have to kind of now make the best of where we are.
Absolutely, Tim.
Absolutely, we have to.
Yeah, and it is an opportunity. You know, there's so much is up in the air. I mean, from the point of view of working for the internationalists and working with movements like Occupy. For us, this is an opportunity for people to actually really consider whether we can actually make some very profound changes in the way we go forward as a nation and as a sort of global kind of a political kind of body, the human species itself, because I don't think things were going that well. I think that actually, if we'd continued the way that we were going, neoliberalism, capitalism, the way it is actually going to put us in a very disastrous situation. And as you know, particularly if you're looking into the eyes of a grandchild who's facing a world that's looking pretty dim, we need to have something that's quite radical in terms of change.
And I guess the thing that a lot of people are concerned about, though, is not knowing what that is. Yeah, I guess that's the bit that scares people. The unknown always scares people. The interesting thing, just going back to the Queen on the front of the Express, is whether or not that was... I don't know, because I don't have regular meetings with Her Majesty. Oh. But I wondered whether or not she was sort of referring to the fact that there may be another referendum in Scotland as well. I think that when she was saying we should have calm heads, I did wonder whether or not that was something about the union, or
there
whether
might have been that nuance in there, exactly.
Because one of the other maybe unforeseen by certain people, but not by others, I'm sure. Outcomes of this last referendum is the potential, and I think it's probably quite a strong potential, isn't it, that Scotland could become independent,
absolutely,
and break up the union.
Yes,
weird times. Next paper.
So the front page of the Observer. May, Leadsom set to fight Tory poll for PM as Gove's bid fades. So, of course, for all the listeners out there, obviously the front pages are going to be dominated by two main things, which is the leadership campaigns for the Tory party, but also on the front page is Caroline Aherne, which is a terrible loss for the country and also for the world of comedy. She was amazing, and all the tributes coming in about Caroline Aherne, it just instantly reminds you that was a really brilliant artist, a really, really, truly powerful creative. And then on the bottom of the front page of the Observer, Corbyn aides cite duty of care as deputy leader is kept at arm's length. So we're going to talk more about that later, but it's obviously talking about the situation in the Labour Party as well, which is up in the air.
Yeah, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just play a little clip of Caroline Aherne, actually, because she just for people just to remember what a fantastic legacy she's left behind.
But what first, Debbie, attracted you to the millionaire Paul Daniels?
I'm very good at spotting murderers, very good at it.
If I was to give you a room full of people, could you spot the murderer?
Oh, without a doubt. I'm always doing it. On the television now, I obviously don't go around with murderers. Who does?
If on earth you're ugly, in heaven you'll be beautiful. So it's great news for that girl there in the front. Avali Portos, Scorchio.
Caroline Aherne, though, very sadly died yesterday. It's just what a fantastic woman, and also, I mean, trailblazing. Really, the royal family. What an incredible programme that was, and who knew that you could make a phenomenal piece of television out of people just watching television?
TV. It's genius, absolute genius.
Gogglebox presumably owes a lot to the royal family.
Yeah. But I don't. I mean, the scenario's the same, but but those characters captured something that everybody recognised. And it was, what was great was it was actually very, very touching. There was a great
it's
Christmas...
the humanity in it, isn't it?
Yeah, the
it's
humanity
amazing.
that really great.
Yeah.
You know, and BBC have done some things like that. I don't know if you watched The Detectorists about the people who are detecting for metal in the fields and stuff. Did you watch that? So there is this sort of type of comedy where it's actually very subtle, but also very, very touching, very, very based in our human nature, which is wonderful. And she brought that in, very much so, you know.
Absolutely. Now, we've been talking, and I would like you to call in 020 722 42000 about the qualities that make a great leader. What do you think a great leader has to have? What makes them great? I've got Frederick on the line. Frederick in Stockwell, good morning.
Good morning, Tim.
How are you, Frederick?
Well, actually, I must tell you, there was a problem with your telephones today.
Oh, was there?
Yes, because I was put on hold, and then there was absolutely no sound at all.
Oh, sorry about that, Frederick. We'll sort that out. But
just so you can...
Thank you, Frederick. That's very kind. So tell us, what makes a good leader?
I do think sincerity is terribly important. When they're telling people before being elected what they're going to do, it's nice to know that they follow what they say and don't just keep on tossing and turning according to, you know, which wave comes their way from, you know, whichever point of view. Margaret Thatcher, her legacy has been a nightmare, but I think it's not because it was her legacy, it's because people have distorted the free market and turned it into a serious kind of mega billion fard and fraud in terms of taking a good idea and then abusing it.
Frederick, can I just ask you something? Because I'm really interested in this. A lot of people think that a strong leader has a great idea or a strong ideology, and then they stick to it. Should a great leader stick to it in any scenario, or should actually a great leader adapt and change? Because the world changes very quickly. You know, should you actually, a great leader, be somebody who can listen and then be prepared and strong enough to actually change their mind if something isn't right?
If we're talking about Mr. Corbyn, I think he will be very good, given the time. I mean, you know the expression, the strong, silent type.
Yep.
Well, as we know in the Houses of Parliament, there's an awful lot of hot air. He doesn't seem to make any effort to chit-chat and be charming because that is not his way of being. He has a set of ideas and purposes, and if he's a pacifist, it probably won't be so good for the arms industry because we won't be blowing people's arms off, killing their families, destroying their homes, etc., their crops.
And Frederick, do you think, because of the thing that the MPs, the 172 MPs who voted a vote of no confidence in him, thought that he was unelectable? That seemed to be their main thing, was they thought that the general public wouldn't vote for Jeremy Corbyn, and that the purpose of an opposition is to actually try to get into power, not just to be a protest thing. As far as you're concerned, do you think that isn't true and that Jeremy is perfectly electable?
I think he is utterly brilliant. I like people who I like personalities when personality is a requirement of whatever, but we need people who actually achieve something. And if we look at one element of what's being put forward at the moment, we have Tony Blair, who's created all the problems which we're trying to dealing now with Brexit, making, instead of preventing all the new countries to suddenly be allowed to invade, whatever, in a sense, whatever part of Europe they want to. Understandably, if you're given a great financial incentive, you'll take advantage of it. But the whole thing is that how come people who literally they've just arrived on the scene and they're admitted, Britain had to wait years, many countries, Portugal had to wait a long time before it became part of the EU, and then all of a sudden, just to create cheap labour for the large international corporations, all of a sudden everybody's just to run riot, and it's not a good idea. Just look at the chap who murdered Alice Gross, Latvian. I mean, this was an appalling thing. Now, I've been to Latvia. I've been to all the Eastern Europe states except for Belarus. I haven't been there. I've been to the Balkans. I've been to the Baltics. And these are beautiful countries, and people have a different way of life. And when you start sugaring the prospects, dragging people away from their countries, yes, we may end up with cheap staff for sandwich shops and certain nurses and all the rest of it, but their countries lose the people they need too. So it's very important.
Frederick, thank you for calling in. I've got to move on. I've just got Jamie and I've got quite a lot of callers as well. But thank you so much for calling in with that. Really nice to hear your point. Thank you. Thanks, Frederick. We will continue. Do give me a ring, by the way. And the main call-out today is about what makes a great leader as well. If you have an opinion, by the way, on either side of the debates, which is very unusual, we're looking for a new Prime Minister and we're looking for we're not potentially looking for a leader of the Labour Party, but the members of Parliament in the Labour Party are looking for a new leader. That's what they would like. Give me a ring, 020 722 42000. Let's just complete the front pages, Jamie Kelsey-Fry.
Coming in on the third front page is the Sunday Times with Tory rivals unite to torpedo May's coronation. And again, Caroline Ahern. Down the bottom, there's a story, cuddling agency offers dusk to dawn snuggles to the sad, which, should we cover now? Or
yes,
should we,
we'll quickly look at that, because Jamaica was covering it a bit as well. So
okay.
Just tell us a little bit about it.
Well, for the listeners out there who haven't heard the story already, there's an agency that's opening up which just gives cuddles, and it's just a reflection upon the amount of people who are lonely in the world, who don't get cuddled. And the way that's worded, I think, is quite interesting. It's got Mansfield, 58, who I think runs this, from West London, is hoping to emulate the success of companies across America that offer cuddles to clients such as stressed executives, unloved politicians and the bereaved. And I can imagine them setting up near Westminster at the moment quite easily.
I know, there'd be a lot of cuddle gear around there. And there's nothing sexual in it at all, is it? It's £50 for an hour's cuddling and then £450 for somebody who will be with you all night and just snuggle you.
That's right, yeah.
It's a strange thing. I actually cannot work out what I think of it, because I think it's a sort of sad state of affairs that we live in a society where that might be necessary. But also, if somebody wants a cuddle, is that a bad thing? I mean, it's a shame they'd have to pay for it, but that's kind of a nice service that might be out there, especially if it's non-sexual. I know that's, of course, it's just so it's very interesting. It does go back to that thing about that we were talking about with Esther Ransom. Is there any stigma to being lonely, though? That's the thing, is will people who can actually do with a cuddle phone up and do it, or do they think it just makes them look a bit sad?
Well, it's a difficult one. A friend of mine works for Samaritans, and that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people who are phoning up are just very, very lonely, and they've got no one to talk to. And whether they I think people will take advantage of it. The thing with cuddling that really interests me, because obviously one of the sides of this story is it's a tragedy to be living in a modern cosmopolitan, one of the biggest cities in the world, and there are so many people lonely. Famously at Christmas, there's so many people on their own and everything. But I remember when we did this camp, the Occupy London camp outside St Paul's, lots of the rough sleepers would come there, obviously, because there was free food. And one thing that I found really remarkable was all of them said the same thing, which was, not only you lot look at us and talk to us and hug us. And there was one guy, he said, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I haven't actually been touched by anyone for 4 months. And that just devastated me, to think that there was someone living in the city who actually, literally, people don't look at them and don't even touch them. It must be awful.
I know, it's really dehumanising.
So there is something very much wrong here. Yeah.
Give us a ring. If you have an opinion on that, by the way, is there a stigma to being single or to being lonely as well? Give me a ring on that one, 020 722 42000. Got time for one more front page.
OK, so big, loud, shouting headline on the Mail on Sunday, which is hypocrite. Bombshell admission by Vote Leave PM contender. Brexit would be disaster. The Mail on Sunday poll, May surges to 40-point lead over rivals. And you've also got a story that's on the insides on page 8 and 9. Johnson, that's Boris's sister Rachel. Gove is a political psychopath. So the knives are out and the war is on.
They must be running out of knives in Westminster at the moment. If you've got a knife shop, this would be a good time to open one. We will come back with more on the front pages and more from inside the pages right after the latest news headlines from Will Schindler. Robert Elms there with you every Monday to Saturday. I sometimes sit in for him. In fact, I am sitting in for him later this month. Listen out for that. It's always a great show. He has brilliant guests. But I have a brilliant guest. I have Jamie Kelsey-Fry with me today. I had to say that, and suddenly it was like, he always has a great guest.
Yeah, he gets all the good ones.
I get Jamie Kelsey-Fry on a morning. Oh, brilliant. Oh, well, let's do some newspapers.
Yeah, after that vote of confidence. I know. Do you want another front page?
You can resign as well. Everyone else is.
Yes.
Going crazy.
I'm splitting from the BBC Radio London. I want 172 of the listeners to go with me.
Yeah, you can have them. Go on then.
Thank you very much. They're the best ones.
So, just finish off the front pages for me.
The Sunday Times. Tory rivals unite to torpedo May's coronation. Oh no, I've done that one. That was on just on. Beg your pardon. Sunday Telegraph we're moving on to. So Leadsom, I can be the new Thatcher. That's a very catchy title. Energy Minister says her strong Christian faith can guide her to the top in politics. Tory grandees back pro-Brexit outsider against leadership favourite Theresa May. Gove and Johnson feud deepens as Boris insists plot was planned from the outset And then at the bottom of the front page of the Sunday Telegraph, Queen urges politicians to calm down and embrace a new sense of optimism, which I think is pretty good advice.
Now, the anti-election thing is
definitely.
interesting, particularly with what we're talking about today, is one of the qualities you need to be a great leader.
Yeah.
The fact that she said, I could be the new Thatcher. It's a bold claim in a number of ways. Now, I presume she's saying that because there is still, there absolutely is still part of the Tory party who still thinks Thatcher was a great leader, a strong woman, but there is a lot of the country who thinks the complete opposite, thinks that a lot of the problems we have in society today are to do with Thatcher. So it's a bold and potentially divisive, in a time when she doesn't need to be divisive. I just wonder whether or not Thatcher is a great person to bring up.
Yes.
Just because she is such a divisive personality.
But, there's a very strong side to this that's much less known by the public, which the New Internationalist writes about quite often, actually, which is, these aren't people sitting down going, right, I'm going to work out what I'm going to say tomorrow at all. There's large teams, long meetings with PR companies and what you may call spin factories. And this is obviously it's a decision that's been made by, I've been in meetings like this where there's a large table of bright young things who are saying, well, we should go for this angle, the demographic says this. And so, it's not a kind of casual thing that Leadsom has come out to say. Obviously, the PR company said, actually, demographics show that this is a good idea if you do compare yourself to Margaret Thatcher. What I'm getting at is nothing sincere here at all. This is an absolute game to win, work out. You're selling a product. So it's just that this is like an advertising company, really. And that's a disaster.
In many ways, that is what happens on any party. When you get into a campaign, they're going to put themselves forward. And I think one of the things that's come through, I think from Brexit, and I think it's right across Europe, I'm getting the feeling, is that what people do want is authenticity, actually. And that'll be interesting to see how that gets spun, because, as you said, there will be loads and loads of spin doctors now going, how do we make the candidates on every side, on every party, sound authentic?
By definition, you can't, can you? Because you just decided how to make someone sound authentic, which is really frightening.
Yeah.
And I think that, young people are really devastated at the moment. So I'm working with lots of young people on a big campaign, and they are going, look, we just feel let down. Every direction, we're being let down. And then they're not stupid. They can completely see through this. They can see inauthenticity and insincerity. And they're going, there is actually nothing that we can find that's not insincere and inauthentic.
Yeah, where can that come from? There's a beautiful picture on the front page as well of Caroline Aherne.
Yeah, really good.
I've got Paul in Tunbridge Wells on the line. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Jamie. Good morning, Tim. Hi.
Good morning, Paul.
How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all.
How's Tunbridge Wells this morning?
Well, I'm now parked up in Lock's Bottom on my way into sort of Orpington and Bromley where I'm doing some work. But, it was lovely. They're having the old boot fair down in Southborough. And
I know, I drove past it. I drove past it this morning before anybody got there. That's how I know that I get up too early on a Sunday, that I'm up before anyone gets to the boot fair.
Wow.
Yes.
Paul, you're phoning in about Caroline Aherne, I think.
Oh, good.
Yeah, well, I'm a huge fan of comedy, and Fast Show was my all-time favourite sketch show after Monty Python, and of course she and Arabelle Weir were the only female comics on it, and some of her lines in it were superb. But I also remember my favourite line of hers, which I'm sure Jamie will recall, is when she was at Mrs. Merston. What I'm going to do, Tim, I'm going to link your politics debate with comedy. Because she had Edwina Curry as a guest, and she said to her, "You know who finds you absolutely fascinating, Edwina?" And Edwina said, "Who?" She said, "You."
That is a good line. And I've got to be honest, Paul, that is a pretty good impression.
Yeah.
That is not bad at all. When you started to go into it, I was like, oh, that could be a mistake. But actually, you pulled it off really well.
Yeah, it really was.
Like, genuinely, surprisingly good. Paul, just very quickly, on the other thing we're talking about, what do you think makes a great leader, by the way?
Well, I think you were right to pick Frederick up on what he was saying about Maggie Thatcher, because I think one of the most empty phrases that kept getting repeated of hers was, "This lady is not for turning." I mean, it's absolute rubbish. I mean, the point about a leader is they should have adaptability. I mean, they have got to be prepared to adapt to changing scenarios. And if this week taught us anything, it is that we have got a continually changing world, and you really do have to have a leader of a party who is prepared to adapt and to listen, and that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. Have a lovely Sunday.
Yeah.
See, enjoy the sun. Bye.
Cheers, Paul.
Bye.
Right, let's go inside the papers, shall we?
Let's go inside.
Should we
through the round window.
Through the round window. Don't mock my mum.
No,
If that
no,
was
your
what
mum's
it was.
brilliant. Your mum's brilliant.
You know, and she would always go through the arch window anyway. That was her favourite. That was her
when
favourite.
I was here for Mother's Day, wasn't I?
That's right, she was here.
There was a whole psychology behind those windows, which is riveting. Well, actually, the last paper I had, the front page, is we're going to go into, which is the Sunday Mirror. And quite a very important exclusive they got here, which is Leader's 11th hour survival plan, Corbyn peace offer to MPs. So this is basically Jeremy Corbyn is saying, you know, exactly what Paul was just talking about, which is a leader who listens. He's saying that I am prepared to listen and take on board at all levels, at policy-making levels, to all the other members in the party. And I think... You know, he is really embattled at the moment, isn't he, with 172 leaving, and, you know, obviously everyone in the whole country knows about the amount of people who have just been walking away from Jeremy Corbyn. And so this is quite an important, fairly brief letter that he's made public in the Daily Mirror, which is Sunday Mirror, which is saying, you know, I am able to listen, I'm prepared to listen and want to listen, let's do a deal. Corbyn offers olive branch to rebellious Labour MPs. So I think that's really important. And you know, you're talking about the theme of, you know, what makes a leader important. Well, it is listening. And also, you know, I do think that people do need to be able to, if you do listen, I find, I often change. Because I'm not an expert on everything. And I think this whole short, you know, what we have in this country is what's called adversarial politics. It's completely damaging. Because adversarial politics is basically either he or she is completely right, and that means everyone else is wrong, or vice versa. You're not going to get anywhere with that.
And you know, have to try and score points whenever you can against an opposition.
So
where do you think? I mean, I'm really interested in this with Corbyn. Is his position untenable? If you cannot control your MPs, if you cannot command the respect of your MPs, who are the people that you have to work with on a day-to-day basis, even despite your mandate that you've got from the people, can he actually do his job?
Well, you know, this is the 100 billion question, isn't it? I think that you need to wait until we see what the fallout is from the Chilcot inquiry on Wednesday. But also, what's really important, I think, is this is the first time you've got a major politician coming together with his party and saying, austerity is actually a lie. It's failing the people, and all the leading economists across the country, across the world, will say austerity doesn't work. So we've got a first time where actually, and austerity, you know, the original Labour Party, the Blairites, they were behind that. I mean, look at the enormous amount of Labour MPs who've walked away from Jeremy, and they also abstained from voting on this welfare bill. So last year, 12 billion, this is an ideological cut, 12 billion was cut from the provisions to the people in this country. So, you know, if you look at it from the point of view of people living with disabilities, you know, cutting £30 a week, trying to cut £30 a week from your living, that's a disgrace. To treat people in this country like that. So these people who have gone against Corbyn, they're also the people who abstained from that vote, the welfare bill. He's
but not all
up
of them.
against
That's not entirely fair, because not all of them. And the thing I think is interesting is that now he's lost some of the people who did support him. It's not just, it's being painted as the 172 all were always against him and always have been. That's not entirely true. So some of them were fans of his, some of them were at least willing to give him an opportunity. And one of the things I find interesting, and it does get back to this thing, so do give us a ring, 020 722 42000, is that the thing that they've been mentioning is his qualities as a person, as a leader, and the way he's perceived in the country. Not necessarily his policies, actually. And it may be, you may be right, they may have deep-rooted policy differences with him. He's, you know, far to the left, more to the left than a lot of the more centrist people who vote against him.
Yes.
But I think the thing that they're feeling is he just can't connect with people other than what they call the pressure group that is, you know, the pressure group that have voted him in.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's a real problem, because the only way that, in general, the only way that people in this country connect with Corbyn or don't connect is through the media. And the media, unfortunately, are absolutely against this guy. So the impression that the public are getting is a very deeply filtered impression of what Jeremy Corbyn stands for and what his policies are.
Really interesting.
Yeah, you know, but also you've got a very strong point. I mean, you know, your experience at working for Time Out, for example. I mean, I imagine you can't sort of lose all of your top board and you know, keep some of your workers happy and then keep the whole ball rolling.
Yes, and I think that is, I mean, for me, that's one thing about the quality of a leadership is you have to keep all your stakeholders happy.
Yes.
So if you lose one or other, if you lost the membership or you lose the MPs, you can't work. You have to come to a compromise where both are supporting you.
Yeah.
And that is part of the job. As far as I see it, that is part of the job.
Yeah.
Now, maybe, though, with this olive branch that he's holding out, I'll be really interested to see what that means, as to whether or not he can come up with a way that will win over the MPs. And it's just, if he's doing that now, why didn't he do it before? But it's fascinating, really interesting. I saw as well in the newspapers, there was another piece in The Sun actually saying that they thought that there's a rumour that he's just hanging around till Wednesday because he really wants to respond to the Chilcot report, and then may go. But we're into totally uncharted territory.
Well, that's exciting.
That's
exciting.
It could be exciting.
You know, and if you do want to kind of look for something that's actually going to make the country better, you do need to look at challenging things that haven't been challenged for a long time. For example, austerity, saying that it's working, it's definitely not. That needs to be changed. Something called the PFI, because, you know, it's not like I'm anti-Tory and pro-Labour at all. You know, the Labour Party, Tony Blair brought in the private finance initiative. If people look at that and they see how it's absolutely devastating our country, you know, that's not being challenged, and is going to be challenged by Jeremy Corbyn. Interestingly, yesterday, he started to indicate that he's going to challenge the grip of the media monopolies. You know, that would really make this country very different if they didn't have something like 75% of the mainstream media being owned by a handful of right-wing billionaires, tax-avoiding billionaires. You know, that would change everything dramatically, you know.
We have a very exciting next guest.
Yes.
You're going to love this, Jamie.
I'm guessing it's someone who cuddles.
What are you guessing? Are you guessing indeed? Hello, on the line, have I got Kitty Mansfield?
Yes, speaking. Hello.
Hello, Kitty. Thank you so much for joining us. So,
It's my pleasure.
Kitty, you started this cuddle company.
I have. It's an agency for people that need cuddling.
I think it's a lovely idea, by the way. Can you just tell me where did the idea come from, and who do you think will be using the service?
Well, I've been a holistic therapist for nearly 15 years, and I also counsel people that have lost their companion animals. So it's kind of like a hybrid between the two. I saw how much touch benefited my massage clients, but I thought there was still a piece of the jigsaw missing. Then I became aware of someone in America that was doing it all on her own in upstate New York and being very successful at it. And it's kind of blossomed over there. So I thought, we're very touch-deprived in the West. You know, touch has become very sexualised, and I wanted to reclaim it back into the sort of touch that you would get from a friend or a family member. And there are thousands of people out there who are touch-deprived and lonely. And I just saw an absolutely huge gap in the market there. It's completely above board. You know, there's no inappropriate touching. People have to sign waivers and contracts before they can work for me, and also before they can come and have the service. So it's quite regulated. I've been running my own cuddle business successfully since 2013. But I can only see a certain number of people, so I wanted to actually put it out there into all the major metropolitan areas, because I always get asked if I can refer people to other people, and I don't have them at the moment.
And Kitty, do you think there is a slight shame attached to people admitting that they're lonely?
I think that there definitely is. When, you know, I always ask my clients, why are you here? What's brought you here to me? And a lot of them have shame surrounding touch. It may be for cultural reasons, religious reasons. They may be a bit socially inept. They may be bereaved. They may be going through enormous stress at work. There's all sorts of different reasons, and there's no typical client. But they're all touch deprived, and they all just lack a pair of warm arms around them.
It's a lovely thing. And so tell me about the demographic. Who do you think... I mean, is it for both sexes, by the way, as well? I don't know why.
It's for both sexes.
Both
I
sexes
have male and female clients. It's predominantly men, but I do have female clients. And we're also catering for the LGBT community as well, so it's not just men cuddling women or women cuddling men. It's for everybody. It's everybody that needs a hug.
And what sort of people come forward to be the hugger?
A lot of them are from the caring profession, so they're already working maybe in hospices or residential homes. They may have backgrounds in holistic health. But people that are just full of warmth and empathy, that understand what this is about, and that want to help people. You know, I have a client who was recently bereaved, and he used to tell me his wife used to fill up his cuddle tank to make him feel better when he was down. And when he lost her, he was completely bereft and didn't have anyone to turn to. And, he found me online completely by accident, didn't know such a service existed, came and had a cuddle with me for an hour, and went away, and he said he felt better than he had since he'd lost his wife, and he's a regular of mine now. And I thought, if there's one person like him, there are probably hundreds of people like him.
And Kitty, do you have to be very sensitive with people? Because actually, one of the things is, if people haven't been touched for a long time and they're lonely, actually just physical contact can really open up a lot of things for people. It can make them cry, or can make them
It can. It's very cathartic in that way. I mean, I have people that come for massages that cry afterwards. It's just a huge release for people. And yes, we always have a box of tissues handy.
What a lovely service. Kitty, thank you so much for calling in today, by the way, and good luck with it.
My pleasure.
If people want to hug, by the way, where do they go to?
They go to www.bcuddles.today.
Brilliant. And what are the prizes, by the way, just so I know?
Oh, the price is £50 an hour.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kitty. Thanks for calling in. I really appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good luck.
Wasn't that lovely? If you have an opinion on this, please, on that one particularly, the story, should people be paying for cuddles? Not should they, but I mean, is it a lovely thing? Is there a shame around being lonely? Give me a ring, 020 722 42000. Jamie, we've got time to do one more story.
One more story.
What would you like to look at?
Well, shall I just say some interesting London events that are coming up?
Oh, yeah, okay, go on then.
You've got to come to these.
Go on then.
Well, I don't know, you're going to be on the show, so you can't, but today, in Belfast Road, which is out by Stoke Newton Station, there is the Belfast Road Street Fair, which is really good fun. Loads of artists live up there, so it's not your normal kind of bric-a-brac stuff. There's some very amazing art and very unusual activities to get involved in. It's really, really good fun. Great community. But you've got to come to this one, Tim. On the August Bank Holiday weekend, on the Sunday, this will be, I think, the 4th Clerkenwell Festival. We have great bands. The headliner is the Parkinsons. Do you remember them from?
Yes.
Yeah, and but more important than the Parkinsons is the dog show, and the compere is sitting opposite you right now, Tim Arthur.
You are kidding me.
No, I've been a very successful dog show compere, and it is. I just thought, oh, that would be a laugh. I'll have a beer and just do the dogs. My God, people take it so seriously. It's unbelievable. Dogs come from all over London to try and win that prize. And they're, when you do the tricks, you think, well, it will just like roll over or something. No, they're doing very sophisticated tricks that look like an advert for Carling Black Label, for goodness sake. So that's on the Sunday of the August Bank Holiday weekend.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah. And I suppose that the last plug, shall I finish with just saying what the latest issue about?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. You've got to remember, I'm coming on here because I really like Tim Arthur, I've got to say, and I love BBC Radio London, but also I work for New Internationalist, I'm the contributing editor for New Internationalist. So we do 10 issues a year, but this one, this is the latest one, The Digital Titans Unmasked. And we've got to look at the power of Google and Facebook and Twitter and eBay, and these are monopolies that are just careering ahead.
Isn't this an interesting thing? Because in all the debate about sovereignty that happened, and people were talking about ceding sovereignty to Europe, one of the things that I think is rarely mentioned is the fact that we have ceded a lot of our sovereignty to multinationals, huge global corporations, who actually have far more influence on our lives, on our everyday life as well, and far more control on our everyday life than any government does now.
Well, I'll put a statistic on it. 51% of the leading economic bodies in the world are corporations. That's terrifying, right? So this issue's all about that. And it's been brilliant being on here,
Jamie, as always,
it's a real pleasure.
We've got one more caller. You can stay for this. We've got Rita in Bexley. Rita, good morning.
Good morning, and this is a special request to Jamie.
Oh, hello, Rita.
Jamie?
Yes?
I wish I could put you in my pocket and keep you there because you are great. I so agree with you about how terrifying the prospect is because no matter who's in power, the corporations, are they pulling their
Oh, you're so great to ring up and say that, Rita, because that is what so many people are really looking at. So the opportunity to have governments now talking about let's take the power back from corporations, I think that's the only way we can go forward.
Can they? I think it's gone too far. And, I'm a mad optimist. I'm the craziest optimist you could find. And yet I feel, are we being realistic to think that when old Cameron went to February and said he was going to come back with a basket full of goodies for us, what he'd reclaimed.
Yes.
Yeah, wishful thinking is one thing, and it's like this hugging. I'm not paying £50 an hour to be hugged. Excuse me, I want a free hug.
To be honest, that would be the quality would just be free hugs for all. Jamie Kelsey-Fry will give you a free hug. I'm willing to bet that.
Yes,
if
Rita.
Not,
I want more free hugs.
Yeah.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Rita, you're absolutely right, though. There is hope out there, and it's not in Parliament, it's in the people. I've always believed that, and that's what's happening.
Jamie.
People underestimate what's happening in the streets. The thousands of people out there yesterday were all young, and they're all going, we're just going to do it ourselves, because there's far better solutions to the way that politics and economics works at the moment. So it's down to the people and the young in particular. But thanks for that call, Rita. You made my day.
Thanks for calling in. Thank you so much.
It's very nice in your pocket.
And enough. Jamie, thank you so much for calling in. Jamie is contributing editor of the New Internationalist. There is a new edition out now. Thank you so much, as always, mate. Come back very soon.
Okay, cheers.